She slapped his hand off her waist before she even turned around. The music didn't stop. The crowd didn't notice, but the man behind her did. "Don't," she said, calm, sharp, already stepping out of his reach. "You don't know me like that." He blinked, stunned, like no one had ever corrected him in public before. Which, judging by the way his friends were suddenly pretending not to look, was probably true. Arielle didn't wait for a response. She pivoted back into the music like nothing had happened, like her body belonged only to her, which it did, and moved, not for attention, not for approval, just because she could. The rooftop pulsed with bass and expensive conversations, all glass walls and city lights stretching out beneath them. Milan at midnight looked like it knew its own worth. Arielle fit right in. She'd been in the city for 2 years now, and it still hadn't figured her out, which she liked. "Girl, what did you just do?" Her friend Nia's voice came through her phone a second later. Arielle laughed under her breath, still moving. "I corrected a mistake." "You slapped him?" "I redirected him." Nia snorted. "Same thing. These European men are not used to that, you know? They'll survive," Arielle said easily. "Or they'll learn." She slipped her phone back into her clutch, eyes half closed as she let the music carry her. A slow Afro house track rolled through the speakers, deep and steady, something you felt more than heard. And then, someone stepped into her rhythm, not touching, not interrupting, matching. Arielle felt it before she saw it. Her body paused just enough to notice, just enough to register that whoever this was understood space. That alone was rare. She turned. He was tall. Not just tall, grounded. The kind of presence that didn't need movement to be felt. Dark suit, open collar, sleeves pushed back just enough to suggest intention. His face was calm, almost unreadable, but his eyes were on hers. Not her body, not her curves. Her. Interesting. She tilted her head slightly. "You usually follow strangers around dance floors?" His mouth curved, just a little. "Only when they don't look like they want to be followed." "That sounds like a bad strategy." "It hasn't failed me yet." Arielle smiled, slow and dangerous. "Congratulations. You've just experienced your first failure." For a second, nothing. Then he laughed. Not polite, not forced, real. Caught her off guard. "Fair," he said. "Then let me try again." "May I?" She studied him, really studied him. No rush in his posture, no entitlement, no hunger in his eyes, just patience. "May you what?" she asked. "Dance with you." Arielle held his gaze for exactly 3 seconds. Then she turned back to the music. "If you can keep up," she said. He stepped beside her. Not behind, beside. And just like that, the energy shifted. They moved together, not perfectly, not rehearsed, but aligned. Like two people who understood rhythm in different ways but respected it the same. Around them, the room started noticing. Pause in conversation here. A glance there. Arielle ignored all of it. She wasn't performing. She never was. "You're not like the others," he said after a minute. His voice low enough that it didn't break the moment. She didn't look at him. "That's because I'm not trying to be." "What are you trying to be?" "Exactly what I am," she replied simply. "That usually confuses people." "It doesn't confuse me." That made her glance at him. "Oh?" she said. "And what exactly do you think I am?" He didn't hesitate. "Intentional." Arielle blinked once. That answer landed. "Careful," she said. "You're starting to sound observant." "I am observant." "Most men say that," she replied. "Very few prove it." "I don't say things I can't prove." She smiled again, but this time it was different, softer at the edges, slightly intrigued. "Bold," she said. "I've been told." The song shifted, slower now, heavier. Arielle rolled her shoulders, letting herself settle deeper into the rhythm. He adjusted without thinking, matching her pace again. That caught her attention. "You're trained," she said. "In what?" "Not being annoying," she replied dryly. He laughed again. "You make that sound like a skill." It is, she said. A rare one. A beat passed. What's your name? She asked. Adrian Vale. She nodded once. Arielle. I know. She stopped moving. Turned to him fully this time. You know? I saw you earlier, he said calmly. You were speaking to the host. And the way he was listening to you told me everything I needed to know. Arielle's eyes narrowed slightly. And what exactly was that? That you weren't here to be seen, he said. You were here because you matter. Silence. The music filled the space between them. Then she exhaled slowly. Okay, she said. That was good. I try. Don't get used to compliments, she added quickly. I won't. They fell back into the rhythm. But something had shifted. This wasn't just dancing anymore. This was curiosity. And Arielle didn't do curiosity lightly. Not here. Not in rooms like this. She had rules. Very clear ones. And one of them was simple. Don't get interested at parties. She was getting interested at a party. Unfortunate. Walk with me, he said after a while. She raised a brow. That sounded like an instruction. It was a suggestion. Work on your tone, she said. But she stepped off the floor anyway. He followed, not leading, just there. They moved through the crowd, past glass doors, into a quieter terrace space that overlooked the city. The air was cooler here, quieter, better. Arielle leaned against the railing, exhaling. Adrian stood beside her, giving her space again. You're good at that, she said. At what? Not crowding people. I don't like being crowded, he replied. So I don't do it to others. Self-awareness, she said. Impressive. He glanced at her. You expected less? I expect very little from men in rooms like this, she said plainly. And from me. Arielle turned her head slightly, studying him again. I haven't decided yet. A small smile touched his lips. I'll take that. She looked back at the city. So, Adrian Vale, she said. What do you do that gets you into places like this? A pause. Then, business. She laughed softly. That's not an answer. It's a start. It's a deflection. It's selective honesty. Arielle shook her head, amused. You're going to have to do better than that. I will, he said. Just not all at once. She glanced at him again, something flickering behind her eyes. Interesting approach. I find it works. For who? For people worth explaining things to. That landed. She didn't respond immediately, just let the silence sit. Then, we'll see, she said. And somehow, the way she said it felt like both a challenge and an invitation. He didn't push, didn't fill the silence. Just stood there beside her, steady, patient. Arielle wasn't used to that. And that was the problem. Because for the first time in a long time, she wasn't bored. And that was dangerous. He didn't text her the next day. Or the day after. Arielle noticed. She didn't check her phone obsessively. She wasn't built like that. But she noticed the absence the same way you notice when a room that should be noisy goes quiet. On the third day, her phone buzzed while she was in the middle of a meeting. She didn't look at it. Didn't break her rhythm. Didn't pause her sentence. And if we move the acquisition window to Q4 instead of rushing it now, we control the narrative instead of reacting to it, she said, tapping the screen in front of her. We don't chase markets. We position them. The room went quiet. 6 men. All older. All used to being the ones people listened to. They were listening. Good. Arielle clicked her presentation off and leaned back slightly. Questions? None. One of them cleared his throat. No. That makes sense. Of course it does, she thought. Aloud, she just nodded. Then we proceed. Meeting over. She gathered her tablet, stood, and walked out without waiting for dismissal. Control wasn't something she asked for. It was something she carried. Her phone buzzed again as she stepped into the hallway. This time, she glanced at it. Adrian. Dinner. No crowd. No performance. Just conversation. Arielle stopped walking. Read it again. Simple. Clean. No unnecessary charm. No pressure. She smiled slightly. Then typed. Arielle, you waited 3 days. The reply came almost immediately. Adrian, you didn't seem like someone who responds well to urgency. She let out a quiet breath through her nose. Accurate. Arielle, Saturday, 7 p.m. Be early. She slipped her phone back into her bag and kept walking like nothing had shifted. But something had, and she knew it. Saturday, 6:52 p.m. Arielle was already seated. Corner table. Back to the wall. Clear view of the entrance. Always. She scrolled through her phone, but her attention wasn't on the screen. It was on the room, the people, the exits, the rhythm. The restaurant was low-lit, warm, the kind of place people found through recommendation, not advertisement. Good. At exactly 6:55 p.m., Adrian walked in. Not rushed, not trying, just on time. He spotted her immediately. Of course he did. Arielle looked up slowly as he approached, her gaze moving over him once, deliberate, assessing. 6:55, she said. I like a buffer, he replied, taking his seat. You were nervous. I was respectful. She held his gaze for a second. Then she smiled. You were nervous. He exhaled, a quiet laugh escaping him. A little. Good, she said. Keeps you honest. A waiter approached. They ordered. Simple. No performance. Just like he said. For the first few minutes, neither of them rushed to fill the silence. It wasn't awkward. It was measured. Arielle broke it first. So, she said, leaning back slightly, you've had 3 days. What do you actually do? He met her eyes. Still leading with that? I don't waste time, she replied. And I don't like mysteries that think they're charming. A pause. Then, my family runs operations that require influence, he said. She didn't react. Didn't blink. Influence how? In ways that don't always involve contracts, he said carefully. Arielle picked up her glass, took a slow sip. Illegal? She asked casually. Unconventional, he corrected. She nodded once, set the glass down. And you thought that was a good thing to tell me on a first date? I thought it was a necessary thing, he said. Why? Because I'd rather you decide now if you're interested, he replied. Not later when it becomes complicated. Arielle studied him. Really studied him. You think that makes you honest? She asked. I know it does. You think it makes you interesting? No, he said simply. I think it makes things clear. Silence stretched between them. Then, okay, she said. He blinked once. Okay. It's clear, she said. And for the record, I don't scare easily. I didn't think you did. But I also don't do complicated, she added. I know. You keep saying that, she said, narrowing her eyes slightly. You don't know me. I know enough, he replied calmly. And what's enough? That you don't tolerate anything that disrupts your peace, he said. And you won't trade your independence for proximity to power. Arielle leaned back slowly. That landed. Careful, she said. You're starting to sound like you've been studying me. I have. That's borderline concerning. I'm aware. She watched him for a long second. Then, all right, she said. Let's make something clear. I'm listening. I'm not impressed by power, she said. I work with powerful people every day. I am powerful in my own right. So if you think whatever you just told me is supposed to make you more attractive, I don't, he cut in. She paused. You don't. No, he said. I told you because it's relevant, not because it's impressive. Arielle blinked once, then leaned forward slightly. That's new, she admitted. I get that a lot. I doubt that. He smiled faintly. The food arrived, breaking the moment. They ate, and then they talked. For hours. About everything. Not surface-level conversation. Real conversation. She told him about growing up between Lagos and Paris. About learning early how to read rooms that weren't built for her. About deciding, at some point, that she wasn't going to shrink to fit into anything. I don't adjust myself to make people comfortable, she said, cutting into her food. If they're uncomfortable, that's information. He watched her as she spoke, not interrupting. What kind of information? He asked. That they're not used to women like me, she replied. And that's not my problem. It sounds like you've had to prove yourself a lot. She shrugged. At first. Not anymore. Why not? Because I stopped trying to prove it, she said simply. Now I just am it. That sat between them. Heavy. Certain. And you? She asked. What made you like this? He leaned back slightly, quiet for a moment. Responsibility, he said finally. That's vague. It's intentional. She rolled her eyes slightly. You and your selective honesty. It's a process, he said. I don't like processes, she replied. I like clarity. You'll get it, he said. Just not all at once. Arielle stared at him, then shook her head slightly, amused. You're frustrating. I've been told. But not in a bad way, she admitted. He smiled. That smile again. Warm. Controlled. Dangerous. Time passed without either of them noticing. Until the waiter started stacking chairs. Arielle glanced around. Wow, she said softly. We've been here a while. 4 hours, he said. She raised a brow. You were keeping track? I pay attention, he replied. Clearly. They stood. He walked her outside. The night air was cooler now, quieter. Her car was already waiting. She turned to him. Tonight was... She started, then paused. Unexpected, he offered. She nodded. That. A small silence. Same time next week? He asked. Arielle tilted her head. I'll think about it, she said. He nodded once. Fair. She opened the car door, then stopped. Reached into her bag. Pulled out a card. Handed it to him. If you reach out again, she said, meeting his eyes. Do it like you mean it. Then she got in. Door closed. Car pulled away. Adrian stood there for a moment, looking at the card in his hand. Then he smiled. Not because he had won anything, but because, for the first time in a long time, something felt real. And that was rare. By Tuesday morning, the whispers had already started. Arielle didn't hear them first. She felt them. It was in the way conversations paused half a second too long when she walked into a room. The way eyes lingered, then slid away. The way one of the junior analysts suddenly became very interested in her laptop screen instead of maintaining eye contact. Subtle, but not invisible. She set her bag down in her office, unbothered on the surface, already sorting through her emails. Power teaches you something early. Noise doesn't matter. Patterns do. Her phone buzzed. Nia, tell me why I'm hearing your name in places it shouldn't be this early in the morning. Arielle sighed softly. That was fast. Arielle, people are bored. Nia, no, people are strategic. What's going on? Arielle leaned back in her chair, staring at the ceiling for a second. Then, I went to dinner. 3 dots. Then, Nia. With who? Arielle hesitated for half a second, which annoyed her. She didn't hesitate. Ever. Adrian Vale. Silence. Then, Nia. The Adrian Vale? Arielle frowned. Define the... Nia. Girl. Pause. Nia. You need to call me. Arielle exhaled slowly. Something shifted. She picked up her phone and dialed. Nia answered immediately. Tell me you didn't walk into something messy, Nia said without greeting. Arielle leaned back in her chair. Good morning to you too. Arielle. It was dinner, she said calmly. Conversation. Nothing dramatic. You don't even sound convinced, Nia shot back. Arielle's jaw tightened slightly. I'm fine. That's not what I asked. Silence. Then, they're talking, Arielle admitted. About what? About me, she said. And apparently, about why I'm suddenly relevant in circles I wasn't entertaining before. Nia cursed under her breath. Of course they are. Of course they are. It's predictable, Arielle said. Honestly, it's boring. Is it? Nia asked. Or is it about to get worse? Arielle didn't answer immediately, because she already knew. It's not going to affect my work, she said finally. That's not the only thing at stake, Nia replied. I know. Silence stretched between them. Then Nia sighed. Do you like him? Arielle closed her eyes briefly. That question again. I don't know yet, she said honestly. Then figure it out quickly, Nia said. Because if his name is pulling you into conversations like this, you need to know what you're standing in. The line went quiet. Arielle stared at her desk for a long moment. Then, she got back to work. Because that was what she did. Across the city, Adrian was already aware. He didn't hear rumors. He received information. 3 families, his associate said, standing across from him. They've started circulating narratives. Subtle but intentional. Adrian didn't look up from the document in front of him. About her? Yes. A pause. Then, what kind of narratives? His associate hesitated. That her position isn't entirely merit-based. That her proximity to you explains her influence. The pen in Adrian's hand stilled. Just for a second. Then he set it down. Names, he said. They're being careful. I didn't ask for caution, Adrian replied, finally looking up. His voice hadn't risen, but the temperature in the room dropped. I asked for names. Another pause. Then the associate nodded. I'll have them by tonight. Adrian leaned back slightly, his gaze distant for a moment. They're making a mistake, he said quietly. How would you like to handle it? Adrian's expression didn't change. I won't, he said. The associate frowned slightly. Sir, they're not the problem, Adrian said. They're a symptom. Of what? Of people assuming they can define her, he replied. A beat. And they can't. He stood, straightened his cuffs. Leave it, he said. For now. The associate hesitated, then nodded and left. Adrian stood there for a moment longer, then reached for his phone. He didn't hesitate this time. Adrian, are you free tonight? The reply came 12 minutes later. Arielle? No. He smiled slightly. Of course. Another message came through. Arielle? Tomorrow, 8 p.m. And don't ask me questions you already know the answer to. His smile widened. Understood. Wednesday, 8 p.m. She was already there. Of course she was. Different restaurant. Different energy. Same woman. Controlled. Composed. Unshaken. But Adrian saw it immediately. The shift. Small. But there. He sat across from her. You've heard, he said. She didn't pretend. Yes. Silence. Then she picked up her glass. Set it down again without drinking. They're saying I didn't earn my position, she said evenly. That I leveraged proximity. His jaw tightened. They're wrong. I know, she said. That's not the point. Then what is? She met his eyes. The point is that this, she gestured lightly between them, comes with noise I didn't ask for. A pause. And I don't like noise. I know. Stop saying that, she snapped slightly. He didn't react. Then tell me what you need, he said instead. She leaned back, exhaling slowly. I need clarity, she said. Not partial truths. Not careful answers. Clarity. He nodded once. Okay. A beat. My family operates in spaces where influence is enforced, not requested, he said. That means people either align or they become obstacles. Arielle's eyes didn't leave his. And right now, he said, you're being positioned as something that can be used to destabilize me. Silence. Heavy. Honest. And you? She asked quietly. What am I to you? That question landed harder than anything else she'd said. Adrian leaned forward slightly. You're someone I chose, he said. No hesitation. No performance. Just truth. Arielle held his gaze. Searching. Measuring. You don't choose things lightly, she said. No. And you're choosing me? Knowing what comes with that? Yes. Another pause. Then she laughed softly. Not amused. Not dismissive. Just processing. You're either very sure of yourself, she said, or very reckless. Both, he replied. That almost made her smile. Almost. She shook her head slightly. This is exactly why I don't do complicated. I know. There you go again. I'm consistent, he said. That time she did smile. Small, but real. And for a moment, the tension eased. Just a little. Later that night, she stood alone in her apartment, music playing softly in the background. She wasn't dancing. Not this time. Just standing. Thinking. Her phone buzzed. Adrian, you're quiet. She stared at the message. Then typed. Arielle, I'm thinking. 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. Adrian, about leaving? She paused. Honesty. That was what this was now. Yes. A long pause. Then, Adrian. And? Arielle looked around her apartment. At everything she'd built. Everything she protected. Everything she refused to compromise. Then she typed, Arielle, I don't run from things that require clarity. A second later, Adrian, good. She exhaled slowly, set her phone down, closed her eyes. And for the first time since the whispers started, she didn't feel uncertain. She felt steady. If you're still here right now, it means you're locked into this story. And trust me, it only gets deeper from here. Go ahead and like the video if you're enjoying this so far, and drop a comment. Would you walk away? Or stay and face the pressure? Because what's coming next is where everything changes. He didn't try to fix it. That was the first thing Arielle noticed. No grand gestures. No unnecessary reassurance. No, I'll handle everything. Just presence. And for some reason, that unsettled her more than anything else. Pack light, she said over the phone 2 days later. A pause. Light for where? Adrian asked. You ask too many questions, she replied. Be ready Friday morning. Am I at least allowed to know the country? No. Another pause. Then, I trust you, he said. That stopped her for half a second. She recovered quickly. You should. And she hung up. But she stood there for a moment longer after the call ended, staring at nothing. That word again. Trust. People used it too easily. She didn't. Friday morning. The airport was loud, chaotic, alive. Arielle moved through it like she owned it. Adrian followed. Not leading. Not questioning. Just there. They boarded. He still didn't know where they were going. He didn't ask again. That mattered. 3 hours later, the plane landed. Heat hit him first. Then sound. Then color. Arielle turned to him as they stepped onto the tarmac, her sunglasses sliding down slightly as she looked over them at him. Welcome, she said simply. He looked around. The air felt different, less controlled, more real. Where are we? He asked finally. She smiled. Cape Town. Everything shifted after that. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but undeniably. Arielle changed here. He saw it in the way her shoulders dropped slightly, like she'd been carrying something invisible and finally set it down. He saw it in the way she spoke to people, softer, warmer, less guarded. And he saw it in the way she moved, freer. That first evening, they walked along the water. No agenda, no performance, just movement. You brought me here on purpose, he said after a while. Obviously, she replied. Why? She stopped walking, turned to face him. For context, she said. What kind of context? The kind you don't get in boardrooms, she replied. The kind that explains me without me having to explain myself. He nodded slowly. That's fair. A small silence. Then, you're different here, he said. Arielle raised a brow. Different how? Lighter, he said. Less contained. She considered that, then shrugged slightly. This is where I don't have to perform. You perform? He asked. Everyone performs, she said. Some of us are just aware of it. And here I don't need to be impressive, she said. I just get to be. That sat with him. Deep. I like this version of you, he said. She smirked slightly. There's only one version of me. I know, he said. But this one feels easier. She didn't respond to that. Just turned and kept walking. But something about what he said stayed with her. The next few days blurred in the best way. Markets, music, late conversations that stretched into early mornings. No pressure. No expectations. Just space. And in that space, things shifted. One night they stayed in. Small place. Nothing extravagant. She was in the kitchen. He was leaning against the counter, watching. "You're cutting that wrong," she said without looking at him. "I'm following your instructions." "You're following them badly." He exhaled. "Then show me." She stepped closer, took the knife from his hand, demonstrated. Slow, precise. "Like this," she said. He watched her. Not just what she was doing, but how she was doing it. Focused, present, comfortable. "You like control," he said. She glanced at him. "I like things done properly." "That's not the same thing." "It is to me." A small pause. Then she handed the knife back. "Try again." He did. Better this time. "See?" she said. "Not that hard. I learn quickly." "I noticed." Silence settled between them. Not awkward. Just there. He didn't move. Neither did she. They were close now. Closer than before. "You're quiet," she said softly. "I'm thinking." "About." He hesitated, which was rare. "About how easy this feels," he said finally. Arielle's expression shifted slightly. "Easy is dangerous," she said. "Why?" "Because it makes you forget to be careful." "And you want to be careful?" "Yes." "Why?" She held his gaze. "Because that was who she was." "I don't lose control," she said. "Is that what this feels like?" he asked. "A little," she admitted. That honesty sat between them. Heavy. Real. And then, he stepped closer. Just slightly. Enough to close the space. "Arielle," he said quietly. She didn't move. Didn't step back. Didn't look away. "Yes. I need to tell you something." Her heart shifted. Just a little. "Then tell me." A beat. The air felt thicker. Quieter. "I'm in love with you." Just like that. No build-up. No performance. Just truth. Arielle blinked. Once. Twice. Processing. Of course he would say it like that. Of course he wouldn't make it dramatic. "You have terrible timing," she said softly. He almost smiled. "I've been told." She exhaled slowly. Looked away for a second. Then back at him. "You don't say things you don't mean," she said. "No. And you don't say them lightly." "No." Another pause. Then, she shook her head slightly. A small smile pulling at the corner of her lips despite herself. "This is exactly why I avoid situations like this," she said. "Because they're real?" he asked. "Because they matter," she corrected. Silence. Then, "I love you too," came out quieter, but just as certain. And for a second, neither of them moved, because that was it. That was the moment everything shifted from possibility to something real. He reached for her. Not rushed. Not desperate. Just sure. Pulled her into him. And this time, she didn't hold back. She leaned in fully. And that meant everything. Later that night, she lay awake, staring at the ceiling while he slept beside her. Her mind wasn't racing. It wasn't chaotic. It was calm. And that scared her more than anything else. Because calm meant she wasn't fighting it anymore. Her phone buzzed softly on the nightstand. She reached for it carefully, not wanting to wake him. A message from Nia. "Nia, you alive?" Arielle smiled slightly. "Arielle? Yes." 3 dots. "Nia. And?" Arielle looked over at Adrian. At the way he looked completely at peace. Then typed. "Arielle, I'm in trouble." Pause. Then, "Nia, good trouble or bad trouble?" Arielle exhaled softly. "Arielle, the kind that feels like home." If you've made it this far, you already know this isn't just a story anymore. It's a whole experience. Go ahead and hit that like button and drop a comment. Have you ever felt something that scared you because it felt too right? Because the final part? That's where everything comes together. Morning came in quietly. No alarms. No urgency. Just light slipping through the curtains and settling across the room like it had nowhere else to be. Arielle woke first. She always did. For a few seconds, she didn't move. Just lay there, eyes open, staring at the ceiling, listening to the unfamiliar rhythm of stillness that had settled into her chest. It wasn't heavy. It wasn't chaotic. It was calm. And that was new. She turned her head slightly. Adrian was still asleep beside her, one arm resting loosely across the space between them. Like even in sleep, he understood boundaries. That made something in her chest tighten. Not in fear, in recognition. Careful, she thought. But she didn't pull away. Instead, she stayed. Watched him for a moment longer than she normally would allow herself to watch anyone. Then she slipped out of bed. By the time he woke up, she was in the kitchen. Of course she was. Hair tied up, barefoot, music playing softly from her phone. Moving through the space like she belonged in it. Like she belonged in his life. That thought hit him before he could stop it. He leaned against the doorway, arms crossed loosely. "You're reorganizing my kitchen, aren't you?" he said. She didn't turn around. "I'm correcting your kitchen," she replied. A small smile pulled at his mouth. "That sounds invasive. That sounds necessary." She shot back, opening a cabinet. "Why do you have spices from 3 different years?" "I don't cook." "I can tell," she said dryly. He watched her for a moment. Then, "You stayed," he said. She paused, just for a second, then resumed what she was doing. "Yes," she said simply. Silence stretched between them. Not uncomfortable, just real. "Is that going to become a pattern?" he asked. She turned then, leaning back against the counter, arms folded. "Don't get ahead of yourself," she said. "I stayed today." He nodded once. Today is enough. That answer did something to her. Small, but noticeable. She looked at him for a second longer than necessary, then turned back to the stove. "Come eat," she said. They didn't rush back. That was the surprising part. No urgency to return to their lives. No pressure to define anything immediately. They just existed in it for a little while longer. And then, reality came back, as it always does. The whispers hadn't stopped. They had evolved. Subtle became strategic. Strategic became targeted. Arielle walked into a boardroom 2 days after returning and felt it immediately. Not hesitation. Not curiosity. Challenge. Good. She set her tablet down. Connected it. Turned to face the room. 6 executives. Same ones from before. But their posture had changed. Less receptive. More questioning. One of them spoke first. "We've been hearing concerns," he said carefully, "about external influences affecting internal decisions." Arielle tilted her head slightly. "Concerns from who?" she asked. He hesitated. "That's not the point." "It is if you expect me to respond," she replied calmly. Another executive leaned forward. "We just want to ensure that your focus remains aligned with the company's best interests." Silence. Arielle looked at each of them, one by one, slow, measured. Then, "Let me make something very clear," she said. No raised voice, no emotion, just precision. "I built my position in this company before any of you thought my name was worth remembering." A pause. "I don't borrow influence. I generate it." No one spoke. Good. She stepped forward slightly. "If you have questions about my performance, bring data," she continued. "If you have concerns based on rumors," she let that sit, then finished. "Handle them outside this room, because I don't entertain fiction in professional spaces." Silence. Heavy. Final. Then she turned, picked up her tablet, and walked out. Meeting over. Control reestablished. That evening Adrian was waiting. She hadn't told him to come. He came anyway. She saw his car outside her building. Paused. Then walked toward it. He stepped out as she approached. "You handled it," he said. She stopped in front of him. "You knew." "I hear things," he replied. She nodded once. "I don't need you to fix things for me," she said. "I know. I mean it." "I know," he repeated. A pause. Then, "I just need to know you're not standing alone in it," he said. That landed. Harder than anything else. Arielle looked at him for a long moment, then exhaled slowly. "I'm not used to that," she admitted. To what? Not being alone in it. He stepped closer. Not too close. Just enough. You still aren't, he said. You're choosing not to be. That distinction mattered. She felt it, understood it, accepted it. Careful, she said softly. You're starting to sound like you belong in my life. I was hoping I already did. That pulled a small laugh out of her. Don't get comfortable, she said. Too late. She shook her head slightly, but she didn't step away. Weeks passed, then months, and nothing about them became smaller. That was the difference. They didn't shrink to fit each other. They expanded, adjusted, aligned. There were still challenges, still noise, still moments where her instinct was to retreat and his instinct was to control. But they learned, slowly, intentionally, together. One Sunday morning, rain tapped softly against her windows. Arielle stood in the kitchen, stirring something on the stove. Adrian sat at the counter, reading. No conversation, no performance, just presence. After a while, she spoke. I used to think love required compromise, she said. He looked up. Doesn't it? Not like people say it does, she replied. I thought it meant becoming smaller, softer, easier to handle. And now, she turned to face him. Now calm, certain. Now I think it just means being seen clearly, she said. And not being asked to change once you are. Silence. Then he nodded. That sounds right. She studied him, then smiled slightly. You're not what I expected, she said. I get that a lot. But you're exactly what works, she added. That made him pause, just for a second. Then he closed his book. Come here, he said. She raised a brow. That sounded like an instruction. It was a request, he corrected. She considered him, then walked over. Slow, deliberate, stopped right in front of him. Yes, she said. He reached for her, pulled her in gently, and she went, easily, naturally, like she wasn't fighting it anymore, like she didn't need to. The city moved outside, loud, restless, unpredictable, but inside, they were steady, and that was everything. Because the truth was, Arielle had never needed someone to complete her. She had already done that herself. What she found with Adrian wasn't completion. It was alignment, and for the first time, she didn't feel like she had to hold everything on her own. And he, for the first time, wasn't being approached for what he could give, but for who he was. And that was why it worked. Not because it was easy, not because it was perfect, but because it was real. If you made it all the way to the end, you already know. This wasn't just a love story. This was about knowing your worth and refusing to shrink for anyone. Go ahead and hit that like button if the story stayed with you. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and drop a comment below. Would you have walked away when things got complicated? Or stayed and built something real? Because the right love, it doesn't ask you to become less. It meets you exactly where you are. And if you felt that, you already understand everything.